Marketing is extremely important for any company wanting to boost sales. That's totally obvious and the most pointless introduction I've ever done to any video. However, sometimes companies get it wrong, even big companies, to the point there's now a phrase, doing a Bud Light. And if you don't know this story, last year, what was then America's favourite beer teamed up with the individual Days of Girlhood star trans woman Dylan Mulvaney, and it backfired spectacularly, because if your target customers are mainly young men at college or university, guys watching the game on a Sunday afternoon, or a good old boy who's just got in from riding his Harley, they don't want to see a spectacularly unfunny comedy routine, and that's coming from me, from a shrieking DNA male dressed as Audrey Hepburn. To date, Bud Light has lost $1.4 billion. We also have the phrase, go woke, go broke, because almost every time any company attempts this very far left advertising, trying to be inclusive by alienating most of their customer base, it goes wrong. But now the clothing company, the North Face, are trying something novel. They're offering any UK customer a 20% discount if they complete a 1-hour online course. The North Face makes outdoorsy hiking style clothing, which ironically is mostly worn by inner city teenagers who want to be comfortable and stylish whilst they stab one another. Now, when I was a teenage lad, I often thought about thrusting something into another person, but that thing wasn't a knife and the other person wouldn't have been male. Anyway, this course is called Allyship in the Outdoors. So I decided to take it. Or at least I tried to, because the fucking link doesn't work, so that's not a good start. So I read up on people who have taken the course, and it transpires it's about white privilege, recognising one's own, and that many people of colour have trouble accessing the outside world. Now, I need to be careful how I word this because I'm a white guy with tattoos and a shaved head. Some people might think I'm of that persuasion, which I'm not. But for anyone, regardless of skin colour, if you want to access the outside world, go to your front door, unlock it, and then operate the handle. The outside will be there. If you live in a flat or an apartment, there may be extra steps. You'll have to go downstairs, maybe take the lift, but ultimately head towards the door with the daylight coming through it. If you can't get outside, and in particular if the door you're trying to get through is made of metal, there's a good chance you're incarcerated. This seems to be another attempt to further the ridiculous argument that access to the countryside is at best white privilege and at worst a form of white supremacy. Because I'm on a nature reserve right now. There isn't a 1950s style sign on the gate reading no dogs, no blacks, no Irish, nor is there a guy there with a Dulux colour chart looking at people's skin tones deciding whether or not they're allowed in. The same colour chart that they use when there's been a murder to decide if it's mental illness or a hate crime. The fact is, the UK is still well over 80% white. And not only that, but people of colour, non-whites, whatever the fucking term is this week, which incidentally by next week will also be racist, non-white people tend to live in cities where the countryside isn't. For example, where I live. I don't live in the middle of a city, I live in the suburbs, and for anyone who knows me socially, me claiming I live in suburbia, yes, that is hilarious. I live somewhere that isn't quite a war zone. There's a lot in the news of people coming to Britain across the channel in small boats. If we take those illegal immigrants to where I live, they will volunteer to swim back to France. So on my street, there's one guy who's mixed race, there's a black family who've just moved over from Nigeria, and other than that, everyone's white. We have a lot of Eastern Europeans, but I guess in 2024, that's just not diverse enough. But I can sum up just how out of touch this 1-hour allyship course is with just one question from it. It reads, how often do you see people of colour on the trails, on the hills, or on the slopes? On the slopes, I'll reword that. How often do you see working class people on the slopes? Skiing is very much reserved for the Penelopes and Tarquins of the world. People who can make house rhyme with mice. If you're watching winter sports, say the Winter Olympics, I will guarantee you that no one competing in the biathlon or the supergiant slalom has a forklift licence. In the same way that during the Summer Games, the regular Olympics, Team GB always does really well in the equestrian events, cycling and sailing. We can win any event that the Africans can't afford to do. However, the North Face have inadvertently shown their own rather racist hand of cards. By offering a 20% discount to anyone who does their 1-hour allyship course, they're assuming all of their customers must be white. Not only that, but who in their right fucking mind will pay full price now we've seen they can just knock 20% off? Not that anyone is buying it because they've pulled a Bud Light and there's now a boycott on the North Face. But I am curious as to whether the North Face will be informing us about the conditions in the factories where their garments are manufactured. Those factories are in Vietnam, China, India and Bangladesh, and I will bet a large amount of money that no one in any of those factories has the same skin colour as me. I also doubt that any of those workers are going to bed at night upset that they're not represented enough. I doubt any of them are worrying that people with their skin tone aren't competing in the two-man bobsleigh. That being said, the Olympic snowboarding champion, Eileen Gu, she's Chinese. So this is bad for the North Face. It could have been a hell of a lot worse.
Aniquilar y destruir por completamente, abolir la familia tradicional nuclear monógama. No es que vaya a darle una paliza a mis padres, ni mucho menos, pero creo que ya está bien de tener un canon estándar.
That somewhat unhinged rant was by a trans woman, I know it's hard to tell, so feminine, who goes by the name Samantha but was born Ivan, who was the brand ambassador for Doritos in Spain for 2 days. He, because I'm not playing along with the pronouns, was then sacked after some old tweets emerged, which I won't read out verbatim because firstly they're in Spanish and secondly I genuinely believe I'd have my channel shut down. Why do Doritos need a brand ambassador anyway? They're crisps. What do they fucking taste like? That's all that matters. Anyway, I have to be careful with my wording here. I'll say Ivan because he was still Ivan at the time these tweets were posted. He referred to women who had been victims, violated, forced to do things against their will, who then went to therapy as sluts. He said he enjoyed bullying videos where the person being bullied unalived themselves. Wrote a very explicit sexual fantasy involving a 12-year-old girl, admitted to standing in his underwear and screaming "I'm a nymphomaniac" at an 8-year-old girl, and confessed to, let's say, inappropriately touching his underage cousin. Now, I'm not an expert on marketing, but I'm fairly certain that partnering up with a self-confessed paedophile isn't good for business. How have these two companies got it so wrong? Because both are actively being boycotted. Who was it at the North Face who said, right, what we're going to do is offer a 20% discount to our white customers who we all know are card-carrying racists. Oh, by the way, ring the sweatshops, check no one's died. Or someone wanting to boost the sales of crisps in España, deciding, I know, I'll call Rent-A-Nonce. Anyway, that's the end of this video. If you've enjoyed it, please do like and subscribe if you haven't already. And as ever, thanks for watching. Other companies have tried similar tactics, and that's why we have the phrase "go woke, go broke." Makes outdoorsy hiking type clothing, which, oh fuck it. Anyway, I've just had a new hiking coat. Yeah, I'm doing all right. Mostly worn by inner city teenagers who want something comfortable, fuck it, and stylish in which they can stab fucking hell. I tried to, but the fucking link doesn't work. It's a new one. How I word this. Ivan had said that women who had... oh, fuck it. No, I fucked it up. Anyway, someone who went on to be trans who openly hates women. What are the odds? Anyway, that's the end of this video. If you've enjoyed it, please fuck it. Please fuck it.